Canada is often seen as a land of vast wilderness and quiet suburbs. But right now, something massive is moving beneath the frost. Deep in the heart of our biggest cities and stretching across our most rugged landscapes, a silent engineering revolution is taking place. We are talking about a $50 billion wave of megaprojects that are set to hit a critical boiling point in the year 2026. This isn't just about fixing a few potholes or adding a bus lane. We are witnessing the construction of subsea energy links, the largest transit expansions in North American history, and massive industrial plants that will turn Canada into a global green energy superpower. By 2026, the physical map of the Great White North will be fundamentally altered. If you think you know Canada, think again. Because these 5 massive gambles are about to change the way millions of people live, move, and power their lives forever. Let's dive straight into the first and perhaps most ambitious project on the list: the Ontario Line in Toronto. For decades, Canada's largest city has been paralyzed by a transit system that couldn't keep up with its explosive growth. The existing Yonge University line is often so crowded it feels like a tin of sardines. But the Ontario Line is the nearly $11 billion answer. This is a 15.6-kilometer rapid transit line that will stand as one of the most complex engineering feats in the country's history. By 2026, construction will be at its absolute peak. We are talking about massive tunnel-boring machines, grinding their way through the core of a densely packed global financial hub. They have to weave through existing skyscrapers, ancient sewers, and current subway lines without causing the ground to shift an inch. The Ontario Line will connect the Ontario Science Centre all the way to Exhibition Place, creating a new spine for the city. It's an incredibly high-stakes gamble. If it succeeds, it will unlock billions of dollars in new real estate and finally give Torontonians a commute that doesn't involve a 1-hour wait on a platform. But the engineering challenges of building an underwater tunnel beneath the Don River and digging deep caverns in the middle of a downtown core are legendary. By 2026, we will see the true scale of this subterranean city taking shape. But while Toronto digs down, the West is building out. Let's talk about the Coastal GasLink and the associated LNG Canada project in British Columbia. This is a $40 billion combined megaproject that represents the largest single private sector investment in Canadian history. The goal is to move natural gas from the interior of the province through a 670-kilometer pipeline over the rugged Rocky Mountains to a massive export terminal in Kitimat. The engineering here is jaw-dropping. We are talking about laying pipe through some of the most difficult terrain on Earth, dealing with vertical slopes, deep snow, and river crossings that require precision drilling. By 2026, this project is expected to be fully operational or in its final commissioning phase, turning Canada into a major player in the global liquefied natural gas market. This isn't just about energy, it's about shifting the economic center of gravity of the entire country. The LNG Canada plant itself is a marvel of modular construction. Giant pieces of the facility are built in Asian shipyards and tooth-combed into place on the BC coast. It is a massive bet that Canada can provide a cleaner alternative to coal-reliant economies in Asia. The scale of the dredging and the construction of the marine terminal is something you have to see to believe. It is literally carving a new future out of the granite of the Pacific coast. Moving into the heart of the country, we have to talk about the GAO expansion program in the Greater Golden Horseshoe. This is a multi-billion-dollar project that is essentially turning a commuter rail system into a high-frequency, electrified metro-style network. Imagine a world where you don't check a schedule because a train arrives every 15 minutes, booms all day every day. To make this happen, Canada is undergoing one of the largest railway electrification projects in the world. By 2026, the construction of new tracks, the raising of bridges, and the installation of thousands of kilometers of overhead wiring will be transforming the landscape of southern Ontario. This project is vital because the region is expected to grow by millions of people in the next decade. Without this megaproject, the highways will become permanent parking lots. The engineering isn't just about steel and wire, it's about a massive digital overhaul of the signaling systems, allowing trains to run closer together than ever before. It is the invisible infrastructure work. Now, let's head east to look at a project that is as much about the environment as it is about engineering: the Atlantic Loop and the various subsea interconnectors. Canada's east coast is currently undergoing a massive energy transition. The goal is to phase out coal and move toward a grid powered by hydroelectricity from Quebec and Labrador. This requires the construction of massive new transmission lines and subsea cables that can handle immense voltages. By 2026, we will see significant progress on these links, which act as a massive extension cord for the region. The difficulty of laying high-voltage cables across the floor of the Atlantic, dealing with moving currents and rugged seabed topography, is a challenge few countries would even attempt. But for Canada, it is the only way to meet its climate goals while keeping the lights on. This is a multi-billion-dollar gamble on a greener, more interconnected future for the Maritimes. But perhaps the most futuristic project of all is happening in the world of nuclear energy. Canada is currently a global leader in the development of small modular reactors, or SMRs. At the Darlington nuclear site in Ontario, work is already underway on the first commercial SMR in the Western world. By 2026, the site will be a hive of activity as the actual reactor components begin to arrive. This isn't the massive nuclear plant of the 20th century. These are compact, factory-built reactors that can provide carbon-free power for decades. The engineering here is at the absolute cutting edge of physics. If Canada can prove this technology works by 2026, it becomes a multi-billion-dollar export industry, providing clean energy solutions to the entire world. It's a gamble on innovation that could redefine Canada's role on the world stage. Wait, we can't talk about Canadian megaprojects without mentioning the REM in Montreal. The Réseau Express Metropolitan is a 67-kilometer automated light rail system that is currently the largest public transit project in Quebec in 50 years. By 2026, the final branches of this massive network, including the link to the airport and the West Island, are expected to be reaching completion. The signature of this project is its speed of execution and its use of existing infrastructure, like the Mount Royal Tunnel, which had to be completely gutted and rebuilt with modern safety standards. The engineering required to weave an automated train through the center of a historic city like Montreal is a masterclass in urban planning. It is changing the way people move in the city, making the car an optional luxury rather than a necessity. The 5 major projects we've discussed represent a $50 billion vote of confidence in Canada's future. But what makes these projects truly fascinating is how they interact. The clean energy from the SMRs and the Atlantic Loop will power the electric trains in Toronto and Montreal. The LNG exports from the West will provide the economic capital to fund further infrastructure. It is a massive, interconnected machine. However, the year 2026 is the real test. That is the year when the budgets meet the reality of the ground. Inflation and supply chain issues have already seen the costs of these projects climb, and by 2026 the pressure to deliver will be immense. Let's look more closely at the social impact of these megaprojects. Take the Ontario line, for example. It isn't just about moving people from point A to point B, it's about social equity. Many of the neighborhoods being connected by this new line are currently transit deserts, where people spend hours a day on slow-moving buses. As the stations become visible and the tracks are laid, these communities will see a massive influx of investment. New schools, community centers, and affordable housing are being planned around these hubs. This is a mega project that builds more than just a subway, it builds a city. In British Columbia, the impact of the LNG projects is creating a new blueprint for Indigenous participation in mega projects. Many First Nations are now equity partners in these developments, ensuring that the benefits of the resources stay in the communities where they originated. This is a massive shift in the Canadian economic landscape. By 2026, we will see the first major dividends from these partnerships, providing a model for how the rest of the world can approach resource development in a fairer, more inclusive way. The engineering on these projects is impressive, but the social engineering is just as revolutionary. The sheer logistical challenge of Canada's geography cannot be overstated. Moving massive pieces of infrastructure across the second-largest country on Earth is an incredible feat. We're talking about specialized transport trucks that are hundreds of feet long, moving reactor vessels or pipeline segments through the Rockies or across the frozen tundra. By 2026, Canada's logistics companies will have been pushed to their absolute limit, developing new techniques for heavy lifting and remote construction that will be exported globally. We also need to talk about the digital infrastructure megaproject. While it might not have the visible drama of a bridge or a tunnel, Canada is currently spending billions on the Universal Broadband Fund. The goal is to connect every single Canadian, no matter how remote, to high-speed internet by 2030. By 2026, we will see the completion of massive fiber optic backbones stretching into the Arctic and across the northern reaches of the provinces. This is the infrastructure that allows a person in a remote village in Nunavut to participate in the global economy. It is the digital equivalent of the National Railway that built the country in the 19th century. Another silent giant is the Port of Vancouver expansion, specifically the Roberts Bank Terminal 2. This is a multi-billion-dollar project to build a three-berth marine container terminal. By 2026, the environmental mitigation and initial construction phases will be a major focus. This is essential for Canada's trade with Asia. The engineering involves creating artificial land in a sensitive marine environment, while protecting the habitat of migrating salmon and whales. It is a delicate balance between economic growth and environmental stewardship. In the center of the country, the Winnipeg metropolitan region is seeing massive investment in Centerport, Canada. By 2026, the expansion of the rail and road links here will solidify Winnipeg as a major hub for global trade. It's a mega project that uses the geography of the prairies to its advantage, turning a landlocked province into a critical link in the global supply chain. The scale of the warehouse and logistics space being built is staggering, covering thousands of acres. So why the focus on 2026? It's because that year represents the Great Convergence. It's the year when the planning of the early 2020s turns into the reality of the late 2020s. It's the year when many of the most difficult engineering hurdles will have been cleared, and the physical shape of the projects will be undeniable. You will be able to stand on a bridge in Toronto and see the tunnels being completed, or look at the skyline of Kitimat and see the flares of the new energy terminal. The financial stakes here are higher than they have ever been. Canada is a country that relies on its infrastructure to survive. With such a small population spread across such a vast area, every dollar spent on a megaproject has to work twice as hard. But the rewards are equally huge. A more connected Ontario, a more energy-independent East Coast, and a more economically powerful West. These projects are the building blocks of a Canada that can compete with anyone in the world. Think about the sheer number of skilled workers required to pull this off. By 2026, Canada will be facing a massive demand for electricians, engineers, heavy equipment operators, and project managers. This is driving a new wave of immigration and vocational training that will change the face of the Canadian workforce. People are moving from all over the world to work on these sites, bringing their expertise and building a new life. The megaprojects are a magnet for talent, and that talent will stay in Canada long after the construction is finished. One of the most exciting aspects of these projects is their focus on longevity. These aren't temporary fixes. The Ontario line is built to last a century. The SMR reactors are designed for 60 years of operation. The LNG terminals are built with the possibility of being converted to hydrogen export hubs in the future. Canada is building for the long haul. This long-term thinking is what defines a true mega project. It's not about the next election cycle. It's about the next generation. As we look toward 2026, we should also consider the resilience of our infrastructure. Canada is a country of extremes, from 40-degree summers to 40-below winters. The engineering behind these projects has to account for that. We use specialized concrete that doesn't crack in the frost, steel that can withstand massive temperature swings, and digital systems that operate in the most remote environments. Canadian engineering is world-renowned because if you can build it in Canada, you can build it anywhere. The story of Canada's $50 billion gamble is a story of ambition. It's a story of a country that refused to be defined by its geography, and instead decided to master it. Whether it's tunneling under the skyscrapers of Toronto or building nuclear reactors in the rural heartland, Canada is pushing the limits of what is possible. The results of this effort will be clear. We will see a country that is faster, greener, and more connected than ever before. But it's not just about the big cities. These mega projects have massive ripple effects in small towns. The communities near the Darlington reactor or the Kitimat terminal are seeing a surge in local business, from diners and hotels to equipment rental and service companies. For many of these towns, these projects are a lifeline, bringing energy and hope back to places that felt forgotten. This is the real power of a mega project. It doesn't just build things, it builds lives. Let's talk about the innovation happening in the construction process itself. Many of these projects are using digital twins, virtual models of the construction site that are updated in real time with data from sensors and drones. This allows engineers to spot problems before they happen and optimize the flow of materials. By 2026, Canada will be a world leader in digital construction, making our projects some of the most efficient on the planet. This is the invisible revolution that is making the impossible possible. Consider the complexity of the REM project in Montreal. It's a fully automated system, meaning there are no drivers on the trains. This requires a level of digital infrastructure and safety monitoring that is mind-boggling. Systems must communicate with each other in milliseconds to ensure the safety of thousands of passengers. By 2026, as the full network opens, Montreal will be the site of one of the most advanced public transit systems on the planet, all running on clean, green Quebec hydropower. It's a vision of the future that is already arriving. In the world of the Atlantic Loop, the challenge is political as much as it is physical. Coordinating between 4 different provinces and the federal government is its own kind of megaproject. But by 2026, the necessity of reaching net zero will have forced a level of cooperation that has never been seen before in East Coast politics. This unity is the foundation upon which the physical infrastructure is built. It's a reminder that megaprojects are built with consensus as much as they are with concrete. And we must mention the high-frequency rail proposals for the Quebec City-Windsor corridor. While not quite at the same stage as the Ontario line, by 2026 the engineering and procurement phases for this multi-billion-dollar project will be in full swing. This is the holy grail of Canadian transport, a dedicated passenger rail line that will allow trains to reach speeds of up to 200 kilometers an hour. It is the final piece of the puzzle that will connect Canada's industrial and population center into a single, cohesive unit. The 2026 milestone will also see the impact of our investments in smart borders. Billions are being spent on the Gordie Howe International Bridge between Windsor and Detroit. While a partnership with the United States, this is a Canadian-led megaproject. By 2026, this bridge with its massive stay cables and sprawling ports of entry will be the most advanced international crossing in the world. It is the artery through which hundreds of billions of dollars in trade will flow, securing Canada's economic future with its largest trading partner. The sheer variety of materials being used is another point of interest. Thousands of tons of specialized Canadian steel, millions of cubic meters of concrete, and hundreds of miles of fiber optic glass. Every sector of the Canadian economy is being touched by this wave of construction. It's a giant engine of growth that is lifting all boats. As we reach that 2026 point, we should also look at the environmental stewardship of these projects. Many of them include massive land reclamation and restoration efforts. For every acre of land disturbed, the goal is often to restore several acres elsewhere. We are seeing the creation of new parks, the cleaning of old industrial sites, and the protection of biodiversity. Canada is proving that you can build big without destroying the very thing that makes this country special. It's nature. The scale of the $150 billion we discussed in the LA video might be larger in absolute terms, but when you look at the $50 billion being spent in Canada relative to the size of the population, it is an even larger commitment. Canada is punching way above its weight class in the world of megaprojects. We are a nation of builders, and by 2026, the world will see exactly what we've been working on. Imagine taking a trip across Canada in 2028. You land at a modernized airport, take an automated train into the heart of a city, travel between provinces on a high-frequency rail line powered by nuclear and hydro energy, and see a country that is thriving on its own terms. That is the dream that we are building toward today. The $50 billion is the down payment on that dream. Stay alert for the milestones over the next 2 years. The first gas flow in Kitimat, and the first steel being erected for the SMRs in Ontario. These are the beats of a new heart for Canada. It's an exciting time to be here, and an even more exciting time to be an observer of these massive changes. Canada is no longer just a land of history and nature. It is a land of the future. The transformation is real, the investment is historic, and the result will be a great white north that is more powerful, more sustainable, and more connected than ever. The era of the Canadian megaproject is here, and 2026 is the year it all comes together. Whether you're in the busy streets of Toronto or the quiet mountains of BC, you are part of this story. This is the story of how a nation builds its way into a new century. It's a story of grit, ingenuity, and a refusal to back down from big challenges. So keep an eye on the cranes and the tunnels, because they are the signs of a country that is finally realizing its full potential. The future of Canada is being built today, and it is going to be spectacular. When you look at the total map of these projects, you see a region that is finally being stitched back together. The gaps between the provinces are shrinking, and the barriers to growth are being dismantled. It's a massive, complex, and sometimes chaotic process. But the destination is clear. In 2026, Canada won't just be a country trying to keep up, it will be the country setting the pace. The engineering challenges are immense, the financial stakes are high, but the potential reward is a prosperous, green, and interconnected nation that can compete with any region in the world. If you're an engineering fan, a fan of urban development, or just someone interested in the future of the Great North, Canada is the place to watch. These aren't just projects. They are the building blocks of a new era. The sheer scale of the change is something we should all be paying attention to, because what happens here will determine the success of the entire nation for the next 50 years. The cranes are up, the tunnels are being bored, and the cables are being laid. The transformation has begun. And by 2026, the world will finally see what Canada is truly capable of. This is the new industrial revolution, and this time, it's green, digital, and faster than ever before. As we look toward that 2026 horizon, the sheer momentum is palpable. It's in the groundbreaking ceremonies, the recruitment drives for thousands of apprentices, and the way international capital is flowing into Canadian banks. We are moving past the era of talking and into the era of doing. This isn't just about economic statistics, it's about the feeling on the street. It's the feeling that Canada is finally stepping out of the shadow of its peers and becoming its own powerhouse of growth. The synergy between the provinces is also a major part of this. For the first time, we are seeing a level of coordination that ensures a project in the West benefits someone in the East. This is what allows a £50 billion pipeline of projects to even exist. It requires a level of coordination that is as much of a megaproject as the buildings themselves. By 2026, this collaborative model will be tested as the first major dividends of these investments begin to pay off. Think about the impact on the younger generation. The trend was for the brightest minds to move abroad. But with these megaprojects, that trend is reversing. Why move to London or New York when you can be at the forefront of nuclear fusion or carbon capture in Canada? The opportunities are here, and they are massive. We are seeing a brain gain in Canada, and that is perhaps the most important megaproject of all. Creating an environment where innovation can flourish is the secret ingredient that will make all the steel and concrete worth it. The speed of some of these developments shows that when Canada moves, it moves with purpose. This is a story of resilience and reinvention. For a long time, we were told our geography was a weakness. But now, it's our greatest strength. The $50 billion being spent isn't a gift. It's an investment in a country that has the skills, the space, and the ambition to lead. Whether it's the green energy revolution or the tech boom, Canada is becoming a place where the future is being built today. Everything we've looked at points to a country that has stopped asking for permission to grow. Canada is simply getting on with it. The scale of the investment is a vote of confidence from the global market. They are putting billions into Canada because it's where the returns are. It's where the talent is, and where the future of energy and tech is located. So when you see those construction signs on your way to work, don't just see a delay. See a country that is building itself up. See an engineer solving a problem that's never been solved before. See a worker building a future for their family. The noise will fade, replaced by the humming of a more efficient, thriving country. The North is being reborn, and it's going to be spectacular to watch. We are standing at the edge of a new era, and Canada is leading the way. The transformation is real, the investment is historic, and the result will be a nation that finally realizes its full, massive potential. The sheer variety of these projects, from the subsea cables in the Atlantic to the SMR reactors in Ontario, paints a picture of a country that is fundamentally diversifying its economy. It is a balanced ecosystem of high-tech manufacturing, green energy, global logistics, and digital innovation. This diversity is what will make Canada resilient to future global shocks. And by 2026, this resilience will be our greatest asset. Each of these mega projects is a piece of a larger puzzle. Taken together, they are world-changing. This is the story of the $50 billion Canada, and we are all lucky to have a front-row seat to the transformation of a nation. The future is here, it's happening right now, and it's in the hands of the people building Canada today.